Check, check. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's go. And let's go. It's Ballsy Uncut for another edition. This would be episode 85, if I'm not mistaken. And I'm happy to have you along. Want to thank some of our great sponsors, Ward Tirecraft, 101 Dudney Avenue, Michael Barth and the gang. Go see him for all your tire and braking needs. Tell him Ballsy sent you 10% off. Also, we've got our friends at District Brewing on 8th Avenue, the Super Squeeze Seltzer, Mango Lime, Passion Fruit Lime. They released those last June-ish, I want to believe. They helped put up my inaugural billboard. Also want to thank Hammer Time Roofing, Kevin Welsh, his wife Chantel, and the gang in Saskatoon. If you're in that area and need great roofing service, materials, everything like that, the best in the roofing game, Kevin Welsh, 262 Roof. He has sponsored my shirts, which I'm just getting done right now, and we'll be ready to go. That's the Our Balls Are Bigger shirts. That's our post-game show. This, of course, Ballsy Uncut. And speaking of football, I want to thank Paul Waldo at Royal LePage. Getting the real estate game with Paul Waldo, 306-502-5355. Tip of the cap to our friend Zelko Stefanovic, his wife Deb, and their great crew over there at the Selects Football. They did another great job putting on the greatest show on turf indoors at the Yara Center. Teams from Mexico, California. You had the Saskatchewan teams from Alberta. It was a great tournament, and they play the music's pumping, hour and 15-minute games. I was supposed to call the last two games, but a little under the weather, end of Saturday into Sunday, thanks to Avery LeBlanc, who calls Regina Thunder games with me for covering off. Speaking of that, we're going to now finally catch up with Carter Gusway, who is the offensive coordinator of the Thunder. I taped an interview about a week or so ago, but unfortunately, Dummy here didn't get it done correctly, so I apologize. We got it fixed. I also had a technical snafu today with Mike Kelly from the NHL Network. What I like to do to save power and everything, being the environmentalist I am, I shut my mixing board off. But when I turn it back on, sometimes I forget to change it back to the mixing board for the microphone. So his interview is going to be picked up through my camera here on the top of my screen. So that one will sound a little different than the other ones and what you're hearing right now. But otherwise, onwards and upwards. Couple nice signings by the Rough Riders. Malik Carney inking a deal to stay with the Riders, and Jameer Thurman, who I picked as the most outstanding defensive player in the CFL last year. He didn't quite reach that level, but he was instrumental in the middle of that Corey Mace-led Rough Riders defense. He signs a 2-year extension through 2026. Couple of nice signings there. McLeod Bethel Thompson re-signing in Montreal. Ed Hervey today at the league winter meeting saying that he is not giving Gino Lewis, the kind of money he was earning last year, which was $325,000. So the former receiver telling the current receiver, hey, listen, you're not coming back under that paycheck. I actually just taped an interview with Gino Lewis today, friend of mine. We will air that on Thursday. Okay. So we'll hear from Gino, Wednesday, Thursday. We'll see. I haven't decided. In this, I can make up my own rules here, so that's what I'm going to do. All right. So coming up here, we're going to hear from Mike Kelly. We'll get to some more football talk and other things going on in the sporting world. But Mike Kelly from the NHL Network up next. But first, the sponsor break. And welcome to the show. Here's Mike Kelly from the NHL Network, Sport Logic, and Sports on Prime. How are you, bud?
Hey, doing well. How are you?
Nice. I'm doing well, man. Happy New Year. I know it's we're middle of the month, but we haven't talked since the since the holiday season was upon us. So hopefully the year's off to a great start for you. Hey, it's going well for Leon Draisaitl after he signed that contract. I don't think that kicks until next year, but man, he's playing at another level.
Yeah, I think it's fair to say he's been the best player for the Oilers this season, which, for him isn't a stretch, but when you're on the same team as Connor McDavid, it's not easy to do. He's been awesome. Just the play that he had against the Kings last night, I mean, my goodness, just winning a puck battle, good pass into Darnell Nurse, rebound, McDavid scores. The guy's a horse in like just about every area, and I think he's probably not getting the respect he deserves in terms of the Hart Trophy for League MVP. We're kind of just past that halfway point. I know a lot of people are talking about awards given that, and if it's me, he's one of my top 3 guys right now without question.
That's going to be scary kind of for the NHL, is that for the rest of the league, at least the West, like Vegas is a powerhouse. We know that. Dallas is always in the mix. Colorado's playing some pretty good hockey. But when Connor McDavid isn't the best player on your team per se, that could be scary for the rest of the West.
Yeah, it is. And, forecasting is a lot of what I do, obviously. And, Edmonton, they're 4 points back of Vegas right now. And the gap was bigger than that not too long ago. Like, I still think that they will likely win the division. And it's take nothing away from Vegas. They're the best team in the league. But the Oilers are on a trajectory now where they had such a bad October again. And then started to play pretty well, and they have been playing at an elite level for a while now. And this team, to me, is I don't see why they're not the team to beat in the West. They won the West last year. They look, pretty darn good again this year.
Mike, one team that would be happy to see the Oilers finish first would be the LA Kings, because then they wouldn't have to face the Edmonton Oilers again in the playoffs.
Great year.
Yeah, what do you make of the Kings watching? And that was a highly entertaining 1-0 game, by the way.
It was, for sure, and LA is happy to play that type of game. That's the way that they're structured to try to win games, is by not scoring a lot of goals, but by scoring more than their opponent and leaning on their defensive game, which is, it's the best in the league. Whether you want to look at results, process, like when you're a team that's first in goals against, first in expected goals against, first in slot shots against, rush chances, rebound chances, first.
Hey, Mike, what happened to the Rangers this year?
I don't know. Man, if I did, I might be running the New York Rangers.
Yeah.
The best I can see from the outside looking in, talking to some people who have better knowledge of that situation than I do as well, is there's not a huge gap in talent from the team last year that won the President's Trophy to this year's team. There is a lot of noise around that team. I think it has negatively impacted the performance of the team. And this goes back to Barclay Goodrow and the way that he exited New York. Goes back to Jacob Trouba finally exiting New York and the way that went down. Chris Kreider's name being in trade rumors as well publicly. A lot of very unsettling things. Shesterkin with his contract before he re-signed. Just a lot of noise, and enough noise, I think, not to say that this explains it all away, but enough noise is going to have an adverse effect on most teams. And it's really gone that way this year for the Rangers because, like I said, they've got a lot of the same players, and they're not as bad a team as they've been this season in terms of talent.
Mm-hmm. Mike Kelly here from the NHL Network, joining us for a couple more minutes. Always busy during the week, but we appreciate his time. You always have some quirky stats on your, as I follow you on X. The Carolina Hurricanes are considered a great defensive team, but they give up a lot of breakaways, so you say.
Yeah, it was one of those things I was looking at when they gave up 2 in the first 10 minutes of that game against the Maple Leafs, both to William Nylander, who gets a lot of breakaways.
Yeah.
He's a top 10 guy in terms of breakaways this season. It is just one of those weird things because they are a good defensive team, as we all know, right? They give up the fewest shot attempts of any team. They spend the least amount of time defending in their own end. That being said, you're not defending in your own end a lot when a guy's a breakaway. That takes about 2 seconds. But no, they are overall a good defensive team. They play. They generate off the rush just fine, but they obviously play a heavy forechecking pressure game in all 3 zones, including the offensive zone. So just surface level, I guess it stands to reason that when you've got so many guys attacking the puck and trying to force takeaways, you could be susceptible to odd mans going the other way, and that's happened to them a few times this year.
So, Mike Kelly, I don't know how much you drill down on the Blackhawks. Bedard was struggling. Now he's kind of turned it around a little bit, but certainly not where he was last year. But then I look at his birth certificate and realize he's 19 years old. Listen, he's a millionaire, first overall pick, comes with the territory. We get it. Nobody's crying for him. But he's 19, which I think is, it's hilarious. We put a lot of pressure on these guys, but I guess it's the nature of the business, right?
That speaks to the way that you play, but also the commitment from not just the defense and the forwards as well. Goaltending's been good there this year, and I've long said that if they get adequate goaltending, they're going to be a tough team to beat just because they are so good defensively, but it's been good as well. So their thing always is, can they score enough when it matters? And if they get Edmonton in the first round, Edmonton is going to put some pucks in the net, and you got to be able to outscore them as good as you are defensively. So that's always the thing with them.
Habs got some weird bad news here.
Yeah, they did. Emil Heineman, he got hit by a car in Utah.
Wow.
And you obviously happy to hear that it's not very serious, but he is going to be out, they say, 3 to 4 weeks, so it isn't nothing either. And look, if you're not in the Montreal market or don't follow the team, you might say, all right, fourth line guy's hurt, not the end of the world, right? That line in the last month has been one of the better lines in the league. They've outscored the opposition 9-1 when they've been on the ice. They've been a big part of the success of the Canadiens, which since the 16th of December, so just about a month, have the best points percentage in the NHL. Montreal. I mean, who would have thought we'd ever say that this season for the stretch of a month? And they're right back in the wild card mix. So it's not nothing. He's played really well. He can shoot, really good shot, good forechecker, and a good fit on that line that's been tremendous for them.
So the line we're referring to is Evans, Armia, and Heineman. So they've been pretty good 5-on-5 since December, as you say. At your Twitter feed, they can follow you, Mike Kelly NHL. Okay, so not nothing. What do you make of the whole Marchand Pasternak feud? Do you think there's something there? Do you think where there's smoke, there's fire? Like Boston doesn't seem very Bruin-like this year.
No, they don't. Look, you can only take it at face value for what they said. They both laughed it off, saying it was utterly ridiculous. We know over the years they've had a very good relationship. Can things change? Of course they could, but if you're asking me to pick between a radio host, who, again, I don't know and I don't want to discredit in any way, or the two players, I'll take the players for what they say. The Bruins haven't been very Bruins-like. Like you say, I think it's less to do about Marchand and Pasternak. And again, if you take them for what they say, that the reason they don't play on the same line often is to try to share the wealth. They don't have as much wealth as they used to as a team. So that's completely understandable. Like, this is a team that's 28th in scoring. Process-wise, they're better than that, but they've lost some scoring talent. So it stands to reason they're not going to be able to score quite as much as they used to. And defensively, this goes back farther than just splitting up Swayman and Allmark. They were not a great defensive team last year. They were kind of average. They had elite goaltending, and that gave them an elite goals against average. So they've kind of been about the same defensively. It's just that they don't have the same level of goaltending either. So it's just kind of death by 1,000 cuts, I think, this season when you look at Boston and why they're not battling for the top of the division and why they're probably going to be a wild card team. Well, it is, and I don't remember seeing a media circus like his coming in as a rookie since, Crosby and Ovechkin when that went down in the early 2000s. It was actually crazy, and I mean, I fed into it. I'm part of it too, but we all did. And his rookie year was, by all accounts, he met every bar in terms of being the face of a team at a young age like that, being on a team that doesn't have a lot of talent around him, and producing at a pretty good clip. This year's been a little tougher. You look at the fact that everybody's played you now, everybody's seen you. They don't have anywhere to shelter him and they tried putting him on the wing a little bit, but he's the guy he's the only guy you circle on that team when you're going in to play the Chicago Blackhawks. Just shut this guy down, we're probably going to win. That's a heavy lift for anybody, even a guy who may be a superstar in the league one day. And he's battled through some things. So you're right. He's kind of started to pick up some points lately. He's still a guy that I think needs to get around the net a little more. And I know he's not a big guy, and I know he's It doesn't mean to go stand in front of the net like Kreider and take whacks and all that, but the net hasn't moved in 100 years. You got to go certain places to score. Even when you have a good enough shot to score from the perimeter, you look at guys like Ovechkin and Stamkos and other guys that can do that. They still get around the net quite a bit. Matthews as well. So I think that'll come, as he progresses in his career. But some of the things he's doing already in terms of puck possession, puck moving, playmaking, are already among the better players in the league. And he's, like you said, just a kid.
So if you were to spend that sweet, sweet Mike Kelly money right now, and we are just past the halfway point, which Canadian team has the best chance to end the drought for the Stanley Cup? The Leafs, the Jets, the Oilers. I think those would be the three relatively logical options.
Well, Ballsy, I've got a list, and that list is comprised of my can't trust them teams. And the Jets are on that list because I pick them all the time. And they go in and they win game one against Vegas or Colorado, and they look great, and then they completely crater. Of course they can win. I mean, you look at them like I do every regular season, and I say this is a team that knows how to defend. They got the best goalie in the world. I can't bet on them until they do something. The Maple Leafs, they've been on that list for about 8 years. They've got a bit of a different type of team this season, and probably more conducive to being successful in the postseason if you want to take that approach of, limiting turnovers, more dump it in, forecheck, that kind of thing. Their thing, though, always, even when they were playing this high puck possession skill type game, was they couldn't get enough goals in the end, shockingly. This team's going to have a harder time scoring in the playoffs, so they're still on the list. Edmonton is not on my list. So by process of elimination, Edmonton Oilers, they're as good a pick to me right now as any to win the Stanley Cup. And then they came within, a goal or two of doing it last year. And we saw Florida just go through this, right? Where they got there, they saw what it was like, they didn't do it, and then they did it. Vegas went through that. Good chance we might be saying the same thing about Edmonton.
Yeah, and I think the Oilers will load up here a little bit the best they can. Yeah. Don't you figure?
Yeah, I mean, you can always fine-tune, right? And you can look at Edmonton and find a couple spots where you'd like some help. So it wouldn't shock me either. I mean, Vander Kane at some point can be that help as well, too, right? He hasn't played, and he's... Yeah,
is that going to be a Nikita Kucherov playoff thing, or a Mark Stone where, he's healthy, he's good for the playoffs?
Maybe. I mean, I think he's forecasted to come back a little earlier than that, but these things can linger sometimes, Paul.
they certainly. Hey, you know me. I'm an Oiler fan. Anybody that listens to this knows I'm an Oiler fan, and I've been advocating for. Hey, if it's not cheating, it's in the rules. Other teams, Vegas has tried it to success. The Tampa's tried it. Why not Edmonton? Why not?
You can. I mean, the PA will have something to say about it if that's the route that, if Kane says he's ready to go, whatever, but you're 100%. It's not even a loophole. It's just part of the CBA.
Yeah.
And, sometimes, timing-wise, things just really work out. I do wonder, though, if a guy, you could set some sort of amendment to it where if a player hasn't played an X amount of time, call it a month or more or whatever, say you can't play game one of the playoffs or the first, just put something in there that, it's...
Yeah,
we'll find a way around that too, but
also one thing to consider though is it's not like he's jumping back in December or January game. If he comes back and it's the playoffs and he hasn't played all year, that's an unrealistic expectation, I think.
You're right. Your preference would be that this guy has played and is in the fight and ready to go just as much as anybody else. That's always the preference for sure. But all that to say, I mean, if you can count on him being back, that's a heck of an ad that you don't have to go to the trade market for. But yeah, I don't see why they wouldn't go for it. They should be all in at this point. You want some first round picks? Here you go. We have a chance to win a Stanley Cup right now. McDavid and Draisaitl, they're in their primes, but they're probably in the back end of their primes because we know that primes are not 28 to 32 like we kind of used to think. With generational guys like this, they can be 22 to 27.
So
The time is now, and they should go all in.
And lastly, tonight on the docket, the game I'm interested in watching is the Stars and the Maple Leafs. Is that the one you're really going to be zoning in on tonight?
Yeah, I like Dallas a lot. They're playing great. They had a tough one against Montreal the other night, but Montreal's playing everybody tough, so give them credit. But these kind of games are great litmus tests for Toronto. Because Dallas plays a challenging kind of brand of hockey to play against, and if you can get the better of a team like them, that kind of game out of conference as well, where you only face these guys a couple times, can really have a playoff feel to it. And they're the kind of games that players pay attention to and circle, and it means something a little more if you can win them.
Mike Kelly, thanks for your time, man. Enjoy the hockey tonight.
All right, you as well, pal.
That is Mike Kelly from the NHL Network. Just hold on here. I don't know what's going on here. We're not. Why can't my screen come up? Give me a second here, folks. I apologize. Let's do a sponsor break, then we'll get to it. Also want to thank AGT Foods and AGT Foods Canada and the boys next door window cleaning. Yeah, I apologize here. Something's going wonky with my equipment. One of those days. Jacob Cormier saying, "Hey Ballsy, how you doing?" I'm doing great. Learning on the fly at my new job at Crestview Chrysler. By the way, you want to pop in there Thursday through Saturday. Give myself a shameless plug. Come in and see me. And we got some unbelievable deals. $2,500 on trade-in bonuses right now. So hold on here. I just got an update. So I'm going to give you a live update on that. Okay? Because I don't want you to miss out. If you want to get into a new vehicle, I want you to get into that vehicle with your furry little friend, Ballsy. Okay? So let me just, here we go. Let me find this. We've got $2,500 trade-in credits. The 100K giveaway. That's right. $100,000 giving it away. Crestview Chrysler. All you got to do is come in and just scan the QR code. You don't even have to do anything. All right. My desk is the one in the back with all the CFL helmets. Of course, being the former voice of the Rough Riders and covering this league, still covering it almost 30 years now. I'll have the best treats, drinks, everything back there. Plus, you buy from me. I help you get into your next vehicle before the end of January. You're entered to win 2 tickets to the Riders home opener and an Obsidian Green, a Joe jersey that I will get you autographed. All right. Also, 10% off MSRP on select 25 and 24 Jeeps, up to $1,500 bonus cash on eligible select vehicles, rates as low as 0% and no payments, 90 days OAC. You want to come on down and check it out. It's our private sale Thursday through Saturday at Crestview Chrysler. Some sad news from the world of sports. Rob Tremblay, former Moose Jaw Warrior, played over in Britain. He has passed away. I don't know I don't know the circumstances with regards to his passing, but I saw a lot of people mentioning it on our social media circles. So condolences out to Rob Tremblay, former Moose Jaw Warrior. Remember that name from the Western Hockey League days. So yeah, our thoughts and prayers go out to him. Want to apologize for that Mike Kelly interview. Like I said, shut off my mixer board. When I turn it on, sometimes it doesn't automatically go back to those settings, so the audio comes through the camera, and that's why it kind of sounded hollow. I apologize, but we always love having the NHL Network's Mike Kelly joining us also with Sport Logic. We have all the big guests here. Caleb Joseph joins us on a regular basis, former Blue Jays and Orioles catcher. Jay's in the running for that Sasaki pitcher, the 23-year-old phenom from Japan. Last I saw, it's between the Jays, the Dodgers, and my Padres. We also have Bob Stauffer from the Edmonton Oilers Radio Network, Hot Stove with Staff, Kicking It with John Ryan. Lots of these features are going to be presented to sponsors, and hopefully we can flesh that out so we can continue to bring you some great sports content. Speaking of that, this is the place for football in Canada, the best football talk, not just Rider talk, not just CFL talk, all levels. And when I say CFL, all the teams, including William Stanback. Yeah, I had a chance to catch up with William yesterday from the Ottawa Redblacks, formerly of the BC Lions. I tell you what, I was shocked that he was let go. They replaced him with James Butler. But here's my chat with William Stanback. All right, here with William Stanback of the Ottawa Redblacks. Now, I'm glad you're still in the league, but that's weird to say, man. I'm shocked you're not in BC. How about, first of all, welcome to the podcast. Second of all, and I appreciate you doing this. How shocked are you?
I'm pretty shocked, but I'm always going to be ready for the worst and be prepared for it. So when things like that happen, you just got to understand. You just got to try to find a new home, keep playing if you have the love for it still, and that's my case right now. I can't stop playing.
Well, you had a great year last year, a resurgent year. Just talk about that. Like, what went right for you this year, Will?
Oh, just zeroing into the game plans, understanding the system, having Vernon there, somebody that knows me like the back of his hand. I can easily learn the things that I need to learn to be effective, in games. But I really went in this past season, with the mindset of just redemption. I felt like a lot of people looked at me that I fell off or I lost a step. And I'm used to looking at myself in the mirror and tell my wife, like, what is people saying? Like, I don't understand. And then, you always got a lot of critics that talk, but hey, put it behind me.
Yeah, so how important is it to have and by the way, what's your wife's name? Sorry.
Kaylin.
Okay, so how important is it to have somebody like Kaylin that's a sounding board? Because listen, I've said this to many different athletes that I've had on here, whether it's football, hockey, baseball. We forget when you put on a helmet, we just think that you're just a robot. You're not a human being. You're a human, not a human being. And in this time frame now, it's tough to be a professional athlete with social media and all that stuff. So how important does your wife factor into helping you overcome the insecurities of pro sports?
Just keeping me tame and just keeping me grounded, understanding the game that I play. This is like her fifth year being involved in this. When we first met, she didn't understand anything of it. And over the years, her progression of understanding the players, understanding contracts and how the business really is somebody she's my best friend. So I can talk to her about everything. She obviously helped me make the decision to come out to Ottawa. She felt it'd be better for her as well, not only for myself. This is about all of us. So, her helping me make decisions for our family, is great to have somebody like that in your life.
We're watching the NFL playoffs. It's hard to compare anybody to Derrick Henry, but I would say you're like a CFL's version of a Derrick Henry.
Appreciate that.
In some respects. But what I love about it is, for a little stretch here was, well, plug and play. We could put this running back in and we could put this running back in and let's devalue the running back. But now we're starting to see, like this year, Derrick Henry, there's some value in him. The Chargers, the Chargers are my team. But, when the running game's not going, Justin Herbert's not quite as good. That running back, I'm glad to see the running back position is kind of getting a rebirth here a little bit.
Yeah. I feel like we do everything on the field. We have to run, we have to catch, we have to block. Sometimes we have to make tackles. But I feel like we do it all on the field, and we just need to be, cherished a little bit more. Sometimes we don't ask for the bank. We're not trying to break the bank all the time, but we just want to be compensated for the work that we put in.
Mm-hmm. What do you like about Ottawa's situation going in here?
I feel like it can be very family oriented for me. I'm older in this league now. I have a family. I feel like it'll fit me and my family really well, for the schools and the children around. I've been looking at a bunch of areas and everything. I have some guys on the team that I've been talking to, and then old teammates as well. That's all around. That's just telling me, just giving me a heads up on where to look for, and to have my family at. So yeah, I can't wait to get back on the East Coast. Though. It'd be nice. Be close to the family in New York too.
Yeah. So where do you make your off-season home, Will?
Well, the past years I've always been in Canada. Because, converting the money, going back to the States, trying to live and everything like that has been a burden, early in my years. So I kind of just stay in Canada. Like right now I'm in Surrey still. Okay. I don't plan to leave until another month or two. I'm just getting everything situated and then closed out before I go. So I don't have any baggage or anything like that.
Yeah. So east to west, do you like the mentality and the lifestyle out east? Like you were in Montreal, now you'll be in Ottawa, as opposed to out west in Vancouver in the big city?
Oh yeah, I'm an East Coast guy. Dude from New York, Long Island to be exact. I just feel like I'll be back home. Back to my natural habitat. Being on the West was really nice. It opened me up to different experiences like fishing, golfing, and all stuff. I mean, golf everywhere, but
Yeah.
like fishing for sure. I've never fished before, and I really, really took advantage of that being out here in BC, meeting a lot of new people, and building relationships and bonds that last forever.
So it's hard to like we've talked a little bit, but I haven't hung around with you, but I'm a pretty good judge of character. You seem like you're kind of almost as that gentle giant, but when you play, you don't play that way.
Right.
How do you flip the switch and go from like the husband to go on the field and like I'm gonna kick your ass?
I don't know, man. It just comes with it. Like preparing for the games, listening to the music and everything like that. I just get in a type of mode where I just feel like I got to dominate, and I always try to attack defenses first. There's always opponents that I've had over the years and seasons. They always like, man, you heavy, man. They talk trash, but it's like competitive trash, and it's where like you have respect for one another. And I just try to, like I say, dominate every chance I get that ball.
Mm-hmm. Hey, that BC team was weird this year, like from the outside. I've talked to Ryder Varga, who's a friend. Both of the quarterbacks are my friends. That was kind of a weird year. Like I thought the Lions would accomplish so much more. Have you put your fingerprints on it? Like what kind of went wrong there?
I don't know, man. It was kind of wishy washy. A lot of question marks on certain things that was going on. But me, I just tried to do everything I can to help the team. Be positive to everyone in that building. Um, with the changes and like the rosters and everything, you can have people maybe pick sides and everything.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like a lot of the players try to do their best and just staying together and staying as one unit to where we can try to achieve that goal. We fell short and everything in the first round, but it was pretty hard, especially when you have all that just the drama going on,
Yeah.
in the locker room. But hey, I just try to stay positive individually.
Answer this how you want to answer it. Don't answer it, okay? Because I brought this
Okay.
up on my show, okay?
Okay.
Like Vernon is the guy. Vernon has shown great leadership, and you guys are cooking with him. Nathan Rourke, we know what he was before he left and went to the NFL. He comes back, and all of a sudden, he's the highest paid guy in the league. The guys talk about that in the locker room. Is there a little bit of disgruntledness? I know you don't talk about another guy's money, but come on, you guys. Once again, you guys are human. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, like I say, I guess it would be certain thoughts and question marks on certain things that was going on and everything like that. But everybody just tried to respect the decisions that was being made, above us, and just try to understand it the best way that we can.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, they're both great quarterbacks.
Yeah.
I love to play with both of them. You know what I mean? But I just felt like things are always, things happen for a reason. But it's supposed to always be a certain time for certain things too.
Okay.
That's what I would say.
Okay.
So it's a time and place for certain things.
Talk to me though about Vernon Adams, the leader, and just the poise and just the humbleness and what he showed through that whole thing, because that wouldn't be easy.
Oh no, not easy at all. It can be very, very tough on someone's mental. It can affect the way that you practice and play, the way you carry yourself around the workplace and everything like that. But he did a very good job at being professional and understanding that, business is business. And sometimes we can get, dealt with the short end of the stick, but sometimes it's always okay. One door closes, another one opens.
Yeah.
So that's how I kind of look at that situation. He's a great person, great role model. And I love that man.
So,
sure.
so you've used the word business here, okay? They say the sport is great, the business side of it sucks. Is it hard to get around that business side, though, William? Is it hard to get around that? Like what happened in BC? Yeah, it's great to end up in Ottawa. It's great to go back east, but at least some part of you, the competitors, got to go, what the fuck you guys watching here? I just ran for 1,175 yards. Like, like, how hard is that to get around? Come on.
It kind of is hard. It leaves you a little clueless, and sometimes it can be discouraging to you, to your soul, man. Sometimes you feel like you put everything out there, poured it out all on the line, and then you kind of, you get turned around or whatever.
Mm.
But I feel like I've been through so much in my life that type of stuff doesn't even affect me.
Yeah.
That type of stuff can't really break me and everything like that.
Yeah.
And I've learned I feel like just recently I really started learning about the business. I was just all feel like I was in la la land my early years in the CFL.
Yeah.
But now I'm really starting to understand it. And, like my mom's used to say, my parents, you just can't trust everybody,
Oh.
Put all your eggs in one basket.
Yeah. Amen to that, brother. I agree with
Yes,
you there.
sir.
Agree with your parents there. What does this league mean to you? Because this league is a league of second chances. It's for guys that maybe got overlooked, have the talent to be in the league, the NFL, but just things didn't fall their way. But what does the CFL mean to you?
It means a lot, especially like now in my life. When I first came up, I felt like I kind of took it for granted. Just looking at it like, I'm just gonna get here, get some, film and go back to the NFL. That was my whole mindset. But as I was here, I started to really like fall in love with the game and just how unique the rules are and just how it's played out. These games are never over. It can go. It's the real nail biters. It's not like the NFL. I feel like just us, if we have more fans and more maybe TV time, I feel like it's a better league than the NFL. It's just our pay level. That's the only thing.
Well, I've said this a million times. If they put another zero at the end of William Stanback's check, he'd love it for sure. His family would love it. But in a weird way, it will legitimize you guys more. Do you know what I mean? One more zero takes you from William Stanback to who I think's great, but in a lot of fans' eyes, it would take you from William Stanback to William Stanback. Do you know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, exactly. And I feel like it would benefit us a lot more as a league overall.
Yeah.
But I really do adore the CFL. It's giving me chance after chance, and hopefully one day I could be a Hall of Famer. That's my goal. That's my ending goal.
Yeah.
I don't see myself slowing down anytime. I'm gonna be ready for training camp, ready to go again and do the same thing plus more. I'm not done yet,
Yeah.
I love the league. I love football.
Hey, and in a weird twist, you're with your old head coach, Rick Campbell.
Yeah, I know. A lot of familiar faces and everything that I've known over the years, especially being in Montreal too, and a bunch of those guys on the team. Like I say, the competition trash talking now is going to turn into like a brotherhood, and it's going to make us all great.
Yeah, and talk about that because I've asked other guys this. Do you like the quaintness of the league? Listen, I think there's two things the CFL doesn't do a good job of or hasn't. We don't market guys like William Stanback enough, and we need more teams. Somehow we need more teams. It would be nice to get to 14 teams. I've said this. I'd love to see us get, because I don't think it's possible in Canada just with the dollars and the appetite here. Sports is on steroids in the States. You know what I mean? Like, I love it. I would love to see northern states like North Dakota, South Dakota, Montana get some teams there and then have like a 14-team league. But when you look at this here and you're watching and you're in this league, 9 teams, do you like the quaintness of it? Do you like the fact you know all the guys? Like you basically know everybody in the league for the most part.
Right, exactly. I've grown to get used to it. At first I just felt like, we just playing the same teams over and over and over, but that's what makes the league unique. If it's 10 teams, that'll make it even better too.
Yeah.
Up to 14 teams would make it tremendous. But I feel like having the 9 teams is what makes the CFL the CFL.
Mm-hmm. Hey, William, who did you grow up wanting to be as a football player? Like, who did you want to emulate?
My favorite running back was Adrian Peterson. But like older guys was like Walter Payton and stuff like that. That was like one of my favorite running backs. But it was really Adrian Peterson growing up from my era.
For your era, I liked LT. LaDainian.
LaDainian Thompson was that guy too. I just felt like AP was like more of my like physique, a taller running back, 6'1", 6 feet, 225 and stuff like that. So that was what I liked.
Yeah, you raise a good point, man, because, and especially in the CFL, a lot of CFL running backs are kind of like that scat back, right? Like he's like 5'10", gets lost in the line of scrimmage. Everybody knows where William Stanback is, so you really do stick out.
Yeah, yeah, and I feel like in my game, I'm not just only someone who can, run through,
Hmm, hmm.
arm tackles, run in between the tackles. I feel like I can get out on the edge too. I can
Yeah,
catch the ball,
yeah,
do what I have to do,
yeah,
make people miss. It might not be as flashy, but hey, I'm still getting the job done.
yeah,
And I'm just a one cut go type of guy.
yeah,
Yeah.
for
So,
sure.
mhm,
When football's done, what do you want to do? Whenever that is, 5, 6 years, whatever. What do you have a game plan after football ends? Because it does end for everybody.
for sure. Yeah, I have so many different things. As I'm in my 30s now, I've really been like trying to calm down and really think about what I want to do. But I really want to work with children and just having a really like a place for kids that's less fortunate, not necessarily having both of their parents in their life. I feel like after school programs, just extracurricular activities for them to have. But the thing about it, I just have to find like where I'm going to settle down at. I
Mm.
don't really know exactly where if I'm going to be in Georgia, where my wife is from, or we're going to be in New York. That's pretty much just figuring out what location where we're going to be living at. But I really just want to continue to work with children, maybe become get into coaching.
Hmm.
I have a few things that I want to do. I just need the time.
Yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
What do you got for? I heard a child. You have kids
Yeah, yeah, I have two.
too. How old?
Yeah, my son, he'll be 7 in August, and my
Uh-huh.
daughter will be 4 in March.
Do you want? Well, either one of them, I guess, to play football. Do you want them to play? Do you want your son to play football?
Oh, he's playing the other football.
Oh, the
He's playing
soccer.
soccer.
Oh,
Yeah, he's
wow.
into that. So,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna stop him. He used to come to all the games in Montreal and BC as well.
Mm,
But he loves it. But I think he likes soccer more because every morning he wakes up, he's talking about soccer. Come
mm.
home from school, he's like, "Yeah, I play soccer there with my friends," and all that type of
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to take that away from him. If he want to play, he can play it.
So I respect whether you make $10 million a year or $180,000 or whatever in CFL money. But
Hmm.
I think in the one thing here, especially with Americans, you got to really love this game to play it because, like you just mentioned it a few minutes ago, with the
Yeah,
exchange rate, the Canadian dollar's at like 69 cents compared to the American dollar.
and it's bad right now.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you'd be foolish. You'd be foolish to like you'd be playing for nothing if you took your money down south right now.
exactly. Unless you're making quarterback money and stuff
Yeah,
like, and some
yeah,
receiver money.
yeah. So,
But
so, so the Ottawa deal, lastly, it's a 1 year deal. Was that by your choice, by their choice? Is a prove it both way kind of deal?
it was pretty much what that was offered to me.
Yeah.
In reality, ideally, I would love to have a 2-year deal and
Mm,
everything like that. So just some stability for my family and everything like that. But
yeah.
hey, I'll take the 1-year deal. I prove myself again.
Mm,
Let you know that I can keep going.
yeah. Well, I
And
tell you what, man, you proved
hopefully
yourself
another.
you proved yourself last year, and I'm very happy that I had a chance to catch up with you. Continued success and health, and
Yes,
can't wait to
sir.
see you rip it up in Ottawa. Okay, man. Thanks for your time.
Oh yeah, I can't wait. Thank you. It's a pleasure. Appreciate you.
Well, for the first time in a long time, the Regina Thunder have a new offensive coordinator. He is Carter Gusway. Not new to the team because he was working with the quarterbacks last year. Welcome to the show. How excited are you for this opportunity?
Thank you so much for having me. First off, I'm really excited to be able to kind of step in and be the new offense coordinator. And I know the program's had a really great history of offensive coaches, in past coordinators and past coaches, positional coaches. So I'm really happy that I'm getting that little bit of elevation. I can tell everyone right now, from fans to the players to the boards to coaches to everyone, right. The only thing I'm thinking about right now is the Regina Thunder football program. So I'm really excited in the steps that we've taken so far in the off season.
What's your goal to be a coach in the future? Like yes, you are where your feet are. Truth be told, folks, we did this interview before, and if you watch the podcast, I aired like 30 seconds of it, and it was too echoey, but that was my fault, not Carter, so we're doing this again. Carter, but so I asked you this before, what's your end goal? Like, what do you want? Where do you see yourself in 10 years?
It's a good question. So kind of where I see myself, I want to coach at the highest level possible, right? I've always wanted to kind of reach and really test my abilities and explore football from different angles, from different positions, from different countries, from different styles of play. really, I want to coach football at the highest level possible, and wherever that might be, in whatever country that might be in, whatever form of football that is, that's my end goal. And so that's kind of big picture. Looking at the journey again, I really hope to do a great job here as my new role at the OC with the Regina Thunder, and hopefully, we put a great show on the field that we can then elevate that. But again, right, like you said, I'm trying to be where my feet are. I'm thinking about the Regina Thunder. I just want to coach football, man. That's what I love to do.
Your feet were in the States, D3. Your feet were in Europe. Your feet are here. How does this football line up with when you were in Europe and and I'm assuming that it was semi-pro? I don't know. And then, of course, you were in D3. How does this football line up?
Oh, man, we have some really great quality athletes on the Thunder program, right? We've graduated, and a number of guys that have gone on to play professional, go on to play youth sports, right? It's really an unbelievable amount of talent that we have on this roster. We've signed a really great class so far. We're going to have a few more signings coming out soon. I'm really pumped for the talent that we have and also our ability to develop these guys, right? We have a really set a high standard of coaching for the Regina Thunder that, hey, you're going to come in, we're going to develop you, you're going to get a chance to play some great high-quality football, and then if you want to continue on, we're going to set you up in the best position possible for yourself. So this football is great. In Europe, there are a number of different type of leagues within countries, but now there's something called the ELF, right, the professional football in Europe, which is growing quite a bit. The quality of football that I saw from a 2-year span, the jump was unbelievable. They're bringing all these college coaches that have coached high-level Division I, Michigan State, Ohio State, back in the day. They've brought these coaches on, and now we're really pushing the game forward. It's incredible to see in Europe. And then in the U.S., right, Division III football football in the Northeast, in the U.S., in New York State, Maine, Massachusetts, Connecticut. It's a really solid level. Division III football is, in my own opinion, right, some of the best ball you can find at that level. I've been able to coach all American guys, all league guys, all region guys. So the football, you can go anywhere and find really good football guys that care about the sport, are passionate, are willing to work hard for you.
Mm-hmm. So I've always poo-pooed the global experiment here in the CFL. I think it takes away from Canadian or even other American jobs. I'm not saying there aren't good global players, but I'm just trying to get your perspective because I said it was we're adding a bunch of mannequins on the sidelines, either kickers or mannequins, guys that hold their helmets. But like you said, maybe you have a different perspective because you were over in Europe and you have seen that the sport is developing in other parts of the world now.
I think it's very early on, right? So if we look back on this in 10 years, and it's like, okay, yeah, in 10 years from now, you're bringing on guys that are going to come in and play right away. It's just football in Europe, there wasn't that infrastructure there, right? It's a lot of clubs, it's a lot of soccer, some hockey, some handball. Football really is now, just with NFL going overseas, right, going to Germany, playing all those games in London, there is so much more energy around football, and people are actually taking it more seriously as, hey, I can go and play professional football in the ELF, I can go get drafted in the CFL, I can go make actual money and make this as a career. You're seeing a lot more athletes that can run fast and are big and strong. Instead of going and playing soccer, right, they're going to go and play American football. So I'm hesitant to say that, but I think this will pay off, and I think you're going to see it kind of progress as we go. But we are very early right now, and so I totally understand what you're saying with that, though.
So back when I played with the Rams, when they just got out of leather helmets, Carter, it was the Rams and the Hilltops in junior football. And then, of course, the Rams were kind of bored of it because it was just the Rams and the Hilltops, so they went to U Sports. But I feel like the Thunder are getting to that point now where it's Hilltops Thunder. Like, you are legitimate contenders with them now. I know this team would always run second for sure, for the most part, but I feel like now it's toe for toe. Do you feel like that inside the building there now?
I think so. I mean, I really do. I remember that 2013 national championship team. Like there's guys on that team that I know now or know of that I've got to meet through alumni relations and connections. and it feels a lot like there's just a really positive energy. Guys are working hard, right? We're early January. We got, workouts are full, our throw-ins are full. Whenever we do a Zoom, hop on a Zoom and talk football, it's, guys are, coming to those. Really lots of energy in the offseason right now. Now, again, we got to translate that, like I said, in January.
Mhm.
But even walking into the building at different hours to go and do a little bit of work, there's always someone working out. There's always someone going to get treatment. There's always something happening at the facility. So it really feels like there may have been a shift, and I think that's all to do with Coach McCauley.
Speaking of shift, how will the offense maybe look differently this year under your guidance as opposed to how it's been with Stefan Ensign? And I want to give a shout out to him. I've worked up a nice relationship with him. You coach with him. He's the quarterback whisperer, I've said, John Mackey. I mean, the list goes on and on, the guys he has worked with. So just your thoughts on working with him and how the offense might be different.
I really enjoyed working with him. He's a very intelligent man, really good guy, right? I really enjoyed our time together. Working under him, being the quarterback's coach for him, like you said, the QB whisperer, right? He certainly knows a lot about football, knows a lot about the offense. I have nothing but good things to say about him. Really enjoyed the time, and he brought a lot of energy to that coach's room and to the field as well. So as far as how it's going to look different, we're going to look to play complementary football. We're going to look to really be united as a group. Not to say that we weren't in the past. That's just kind of some of the things that I'm trying to make sure that our overall team culture matches what we're doing offensively as well. We won the PFC last year, right? So I know that we're not going to throw everything out and just say, hey, we got to start from scratch, right? We have a lot of really good pieces, really good parts of our offense. We're going to build on it step by step. We're going to make sure that we can improvise and adapt really in real time and go from there. I think we're going to have a really great product on the field, and my hope is to make defensive coordinators really angry at me.
Yeah, I'd like to see that too as one of the voices of the team. So I loved the fact that you guys did win the PFC. I went and watched my son's debut with the Dinos. Was it the debut? It was a playoff game with the Dinos, so I missed your national semifinal game here, but I did watch it driving home on the app, sitting in the back seat. I wasn't driving when I was watching it. Anyway, it struck me you guys had quarterback injuries between your two guys, Hug and Moberg, but Moberg took two possessions and then, Hug took two possessions and Moberg would take one. My question to you would be is, if Moberg's good enough to play, why wouldn't he get more snaps? That's just an honest question.
Sure. No, of course. I appreciate that. So we had a very similar game plan, right? From what won us the PFC to then going into that semifinals, and both of them were dealing with pretty bad injuries. So Hug had a torn labrum in his throwing arm, or in his shoulder, excuse me. Again, it was about fatigue with him, right? So not being able to throw the football, 30, 35 times again, because after a certain period, it's all arm fatigue. It has nothing to do with him. It's just his inability, right? And also with Moberg, he was coming off a high ankle sprain, so his mobility was unfortunately compromised. Both those guys played with tremendous amount of discomfort. Both those guys, that's the definition of grit. They pushed each other in practice. We had, the idea and the plan leading up to it for both weeks. So it's not like they were surprised by it. They had an idea. Obviously, hindsight is what it is. We didn't win the game. You like to do a few things. Shout out to the Sun. They did a great job of kind of, limiting those guys and playing to our, playing their strengths to our weaknesses. And they did a great job. Obviously, hope that doesn't happen again. But both those guys really battled it out. And again, shout out to those guys. They, you're at that point in the season, everyone's playing with something.
Yeah.
Right? But to be at the quarterback position and have something like that, it's gonna, as it's gonna throw off your timing, your rhythm. Any slight tweaks, and you're gonna have a bad day at the office sometimes. So it was unfortunate, but yeah.
So that high ankle sprain is, it's an ankle sprain. That can present as almost like a knee injury in some cases. That's how bad high ankle sprains can be. So I get what you're saying about Moberg. Here's a question about the running backs. You had Likert, you had Sadiq, the thunder and lightning, so to speak. If you could go back, hindsight being 2020, it's easier to be in the broadcast booth or in the stands, not calling the games. Would you guys have committed more to those two guys in that game? Because that was another thing that people were talking about after the game.
Sure, and it's easy because you look at the final score and you look at some of the second half stats, and I might even agree with you a little bit, but overall, right, that first half we did run the ball quite a
Hmm.
bit.
Hmm.
What their adjustments were, right, in real time, where they loaded the box, they put 9 guys in the box, and we try to go +1 every time, but there are only so many gaps, and kind of what worked the past week against Saskatoon. We were able to gash them when they loaded the box up a bit, right? They were a bit more sound. The Suns were a bit more sound and weren't, and kind of hesitated a bit. So we had to be able to throw the ball, and just with our limitations, if you will, we
Hmm.
weren't able to get it done. So yes and no. Again, that first half, you just watched that first quarter. We ran the ball a lot.
Yeah, you did. Yeah, you did. Hey, let's talk some positivity here. How satisfying was it to go up to Saskatoon and smash them on their home turf and win that championship?
Oh man, that was pretty good. That was my the first PFC final that I got to coach in. Being a part of that, I know it meant to a lot of those guys that have been in that game before and have come out the other side, and have not been have not been the champion. So to be able to help them with anything I could, but then to see their reaction, right, to everything that they have put in for multiple years, to be able to go up to Saskatoon after losing them twice in the regular season, once again in Saskatoon, that they got us pretty good, right? That second game they got us pretty good. So to be able to go up there for the PFC and win felt pretty good, and just to see those guys' reaction, man, like it meant so much to Hug, Moberg, all those coaches that put so much time and effort into, and just to see the reward of it was really surreal. So yeah, super happy. Appreciate the positive question there.
So yeah, and lastly, so you take these guys and you throw with them and you coach them up in the off season. How do you get better? What do you do? Like, it's one thing for you to preach to those guys to get better, but you got to get better. So how do you get better? Like, are like what kind of resource materials do you use? Who do you lean on to get better going into this new role?
I love that. That's the best question I've ever got asked. Thank you so much. There is so much football out there, right? So there's clinics you can go, there's online stuff. My favorite resource is going other coaches that I've coached with, right? I will get on a Zoom, I'll draw something up and say, hey, this is what I'm thinking. This is why I like it. I like it against this coverage. I like it for this reasons. Here's my quarterback read. Here are the routes. Here's the protection. And then we'll go back and forth, right? We go back and forth for a 2-man route concept for an hour and a half of just talking football. So being able to throw, stuff up against, even with coaches that we have for the Thunder, but I really like doing against, with coaches that I coached with that are on the opposite side of the football, let's say down in the U.S. And then it kind of gets the ball rolling from them. They do the same thing with me. I had a 2-hour conversation earlier today with a coach down in the U.S. that I coached with for a few years, and they're
Hmm.
just they're trying a few new different things, and so we're just kind of battling back and forth. We call them getting on the whiteboard, if you will, virtual whiteboard.
Yeah.
But that's my favorite way, and that's how I become better as a coach. I think you actually have to, coaching is a lot of teaching. So if I can teach someone something and they say, hey, do this better, do this differently. When you're teaching, say this word, don't say that word. Slow. I talk fast, so sometimes, hey, let's slow it down a little bit.
Hmm.
So being able to just kind of be critiqued and be coached as a coach is something that I find super beneficial. Then obviously just with the amount of resources, I'm always on Instagram and Twitter looking up new plays and new formations and stuff. As long as it fits our guys, I like to try and play with it a little bit too.
So I'm a passionate guy. I can kind of tell you're passionate, and sometimes that passion can make you speed up your vocabulary and your thought process. And I'm learning that in sales that you got to slow down. What do you do to slow down? Like, how do you mentally say, okay, I got to slow down. I got to take my foot off the gas a little bit.
I try and look at cues from other people, especially when I'm, kind of presenting a play, when I'm clinicking a play. If I can see their wheels are turning, means that I have to rethink about how I talked about it. And
Hmm.
and I've been lucky to do a lot of public speaking, and in public speaking, you really can't go fast, right? You have to go nice and slow. Everyone's got to be able to hear you from the front of the room to the back of the room. And so I kind of rely on that. But again, football is different because I just get so, filled with energy. And then I also tell people, hey, like slow me down. And so people that know me that have coached with me, and when we're in a room and we're coaching or we're on the field and we're coaching football, and I get a little bit too fast, they just, hey, pump the brakes a little bit, and I kind of, reset
Yeah.
myself and go. But it's something that I'm always looking for. So if you have any advice on that for myself, I'd love to hear it too.
Yeah, I'm still working that out, but I definitely will. Thanks for that question. Hey, so are you a collaborative coach? Like if a quarterback comes to you, say you'll give him a play, and he's like, I don't like that play. I don't feel I can do that play. Like I don't, that doesn't play to my strengths. Will you be collaborative? Like how's your mindset when it comes to that?
My mindset is players, formations, plays, right? So I kind of got that from a couple guys down in the U.S. Definitely, I want to make sure that myself and the quarterback are always on the same page, right? So if they're not seeing it the same way I am, well, I'm not the one taking the snap, right? I'm not the one throwing the football, making the block, making the catch. So I rely on the players and their voice, and they have to be able to. We have to have that line of communication, the trust,
Hmm.
so that we can not only just be on the same page, but I kind of have an idea of their ability that week and that game plan. So it's very collaborative. It's not my offense, right? It's the Thunder offense. It's all every coach, every player, the quarterbacks from the first to the who's ever on the bottom end of that depth chart. It's all of our effort working together to try and piece it all together.
Hey, what are you doing for a day job?
So I'm a personal trainer, so I work at a couple different gyms. I run an athletic development class in the evening. I do some quarterback training and receiver training as well,
Hmm.
and then I also do a lot of fitness classes and stuff as well.
Where can they get a hold of you if they want? Are you taking customers? Because here's a chance for you to plug it, bud.
Absolutely. So I'm at New Gen Fitness on Hamilton Street. You go in there, find me on the website. If you have anyone who wants to get some more athletic development training, my class is going to be every Sunday, and then I'm going to find another day during the week. And again, that's all on my socials and on social media and on New Gen Fitness as well.
Okay, and lastly, that ties into my last question. So, in your life, you've got paid to coach, and you haven't got paid to coach. Grad assistant, Thunder, you might get a small, I'm talking very small honorarium and some gear, Thunder gear coming out the wazoo, but you can't eat Thunder gear. But the lay of the land, we all do. So that's my last question. What keeps you coming back? Give me the one thing that keeps you coming back. Why do you love coaching football?
One thing is relationships, man. Like from the board to the players to the fans to the interactions I have with other coaches to the kids. It's relationships. That's what football is. I've said a number of times that I've even heard it being said. If the kids don't want to play for you, then it doesn't. You can be Bill frickin' Belichick. It doesn't matter what system you have or what play you have. They have to believe it. They have to see it. I want them to succeed, not just on the football field, right in life, in their social life, in the classroom, in the work life, whatever that might be. I want them to succeed. But me just telling them that isn't enough, right? They have to see it from me. I have to show it. They have to believe it because I believe it, right? Now I need to make sure that they believe it. And so for me, I love football, but more importantly, I like really building relationships, and that's to me what football is all about.
I agree. I've coached minor football, like with my kids were playing, helped out a little bit with the Rams. What I always really kind of tugs at me, not my eyes don't well up, but when somebody comes up to you, he's like in his 20s or whatever, and he says, Hey, coach. And you're like, Coach, I coached you back in high school back in the day. You're like 30, I'm 50. Holy cow, I'm old. But that's cool when somebody calls you coach, and I don't mean who you're coaching right now, but like say 5, 6, 7 years down the line. Do you feel the same way?
Yeah, it's a term of respect, right? Because they don't have to call you coach anymore, but for them to
No.
do it is something special.
Yeah, that's for sure. Hey, man, thanks for your time. Really looking forward to seeing how this offense progresses underneath your tutelage, and we'll talk as the season progresses, okay?
You got it. Thank you so much.
Good guy there, Carter Gusway, new offensive coordinator for the Regina Thunder. But I do want to say all the respect in the world for Stefan Ensign. He's always answered my calls, whether on this podcast or back in my previous life in radio. And he's done a great job with the Thunder over the years. Really has. All the coaches or all the quarterbacks he's coached, Sawyer Bittner. He's coached Mason Nias, not with the Thunder, but in provincial and national competitions. He's coached John Mackey. I mean, the list goes on and on. I'm missing a whole bunch of them. Jordan Yance is one. Like there are a whole bunch that he has coached and done a great job with them. And I think most of the players that he's been coached by would say that he's been instrumental in their development in football and excelling in football. So kudos to him and good luck in whatever he's going to do. I know he's got a young family, so he's probably tied up. I think it's a house full of girls, if I'm not mistaken, too. So kudos to you, Stefan Ensign. Great career with the Regina Thunder. Good luck to Carter Gusway. And of course, he's joined by Chris Getzlaff. I've interviewed Getzlaff about that very role as an offensive consultant. If you missed it, you can check it out in podcast form on Spotify, Apple, wherever you get your podcasts. And also, you can always go back to Ballsy Uncut on Facebook and X and on YouTube, and you'll find all the shows there. That was a couple of episodes back. This is installment 85. Coming up on our next installment, we will hear from Gino Lewis. Eugene Lewis made $325,000 last year with the Edmonton Elkamos. His new GM, Ed Hervey, a former receiver in his own right, who I think wore the same number 81. Oh, no, Gino's 87. Ed was 81. Ed Hervey said he's not paying Gino Lewis that type of money. So it looks like Eugene will be headed to free agency. I caught up with him today. We will air that, or I will air that on Thursday, along with an interview with the new recruit for the Rams, Ty Gorniak out of Balgoni. He's a kicker and hoping to be the next great kicker in Rams history. So Ty Gorniak will join us. Also trying to nail down G. Roy Simon, who joined the Maryland Terrapins, his old college team, as GM and in charge of raising money for the team as well. So kudos to Superman. Also, couple of NFL notes. Yes, Sam Darnold didn't have the greatest game yesterday. The Vikings at 14-3 lose to the Rams. Rams spend some money on offense with their quarterback, couple of receivers, but their defense is young. It's inexpensive. It flies around. It's gotten better since October. The Rams are going to give the Eagles everything they can handle. And right now, I'd predict, my predictions haven't been great lately, but I predict Detroit and LA. They met last year in the playoffs, but I predict Detroit and LA, I think it was divisional playoffs. Detroit and LA will meet in the NFC Championship game. That's my prediction. Detroit against Washington. Detroit wins, although Washington will give them a good go. I think LA goes in and beats Philadelphia if their guys are healthy. I know their running back got hurt, and Puka Nacua, the receiver, got hurt in that win over Minnesota yesterday. The NFL playoffs are flawed. That should have been a Minnesota home game. I think every divisional winner in the playoffs should get an automatic berth into the playoffs if they win their division, but it goes on record. Like the number one seeds, great. The number one seeds get the bye. Everybody else, it's according to your record. So if a shitty Houston team, they would have beat the Chargers anyway, but my Chargers. But if a shitty Houston team has a worse record than the Chargers shouldn't have to travel to Houston. Minnesota should not have to travel to, I guess, Arizona in this case because of the wildfires to play the Rams. Now the Rams full marks for their win. They got 6 first half sacks. Couple of them, Sam Darnold was seeing ghosts. He was holding the ball too long, trying to make big plays. But Sam Darnold doesn't suck. You don't suck being a quarterback for a team that wins 14 games. That doesn't happen in the NFL. So all the narrative going around that he sucks, he's terrible, see, that's the real Sam Darnold. I think Sam Darnold is a B student. He's not an A student. He's not an elite quarterback. He was on a path a couple of weeks ago, had the playoffs gone the way he wanted with a couple, they beat Detroit to get the first seed and only have to win one game to get to the NFC Championship game. But they get beat by Detroit, a Detroit team that was banged up, and Darnold didn't look so good. So you're thinking, okay, it was a bad game, but he'll rebound. He didn't look so good yesterday. So I think that cost him probably a few dollars, like $20 million annually. He'll go from having his annual paycheck start with a 5, as in $50 million, to probably 30 to 35 like Baker Mayfield. And that's where he'd be. He'd be a Baker Mayfield type of quarterback. Both really good quarterbacks, but not quite elite level quarterbacks. That's how I feel. I think Baker's a little better than Sam Darnold. So it's going to be interesting to see if Minnesota stays with Darnold, if they go with J.J. McCarthy, one of their top picks out of Michigan, who got hurt early in training camp, or if they go J.J. McCarthy and Daniel Jones and sign Sam Darnold and trade him somewhere. I know the 49ers didn't want to let him go. They liked him as a backup quarterback, just couldn't afford him. So to go from Kevin O'Connell to Kyle Shanahan's not necessarily a bad thing. Those are two great play callers. The other games are going to be great too. Like Kansas City again. And hey, kudos to Kansas City. They aren't a great 15-2 team. Like I don't think they're a true 15-2 team, but they'll beat Houston while Buffalo and Baltimore will beat each other up. That'll be a great game. That might be the Super Bowl right there. Buffalo, Baltimore. Whoever wins that game, I think beats KC and wins the Super Bowl. That's my prediction, but that's going to be a good one. Can't wait to watch that one on the weekend. NHL scores here. Let us tell you that it's the Lightning losing to the Bruins 2-0 right now, end of the first. Leafs and Stars tied at 1. Senators and Islanders in the first are scoreless in the first period of play. So those are a few games going on right now in the NHL. Hi to Leonard, who says, hey, Ballsy, how you doing? Looking real fresh. Thanks. I think he was referring to my pink shirt that I was wearing when I interviewed Mike Kelly earlier today. If you missed this show, episode 85 of Ballsy Uncut, check it out again in replay form wherever you get your podcasts, or on X, Facebook, and YouTube by searching Ballsy Uncut. Oh, I just got a text here. Hold on. Give me a second. Okay, going to line up G. Roy Simon. Hopefully we will get him on later in the week, the new GM of the Maryland Terrapins. All right, that will do it for the show. We will talk to you on, one other thing. I didn't mention this. I had kind of predicted this a couple weeks ago. Deion Sanders and Jerry Jones talking now about maybe Deion coming on as the coach of the Cowboys. Hey, he was okay in FCS football, took a lower ranked Colorado Buffaloes team and turned them into must-see TV. And I'm thinking if they draft his son or sons, then for sure Deion Sanders will be in the NFL with the Dallas Cowboys. Him and Jerry, they've had their run-ins at times with the contract holdout. They've also had a love affair, so to speak. So, and the Cowboys are a little bit like the Rough Riders in that they're a name brand, but there's apathy. There's apathy in Rider Nation. A lot of empty seats. Season tickets are dropping. Jerry Jones looks out in the crowd. He sees season tickets. He sees people not in the stands, people not caring about the Cowboys as much. Deion Sanders will bring eyeballs to the Cowboys. He is must watch. What's he going to do? How's that going to turn out? Those are the questions that always circle around prime time, around Neon Deion, his first nickname. So I wouldn't be shocked if Deion Sanders becomes the next head coach of the Dallas Cowboys. Will he be good? That remains to be seen. Is he better than Mike McCarthy? I'm going to say no. But Jerry Jones is headed towards Al Davis territory. Both visionaries early on in their careers in football, but owners, they own their own teams. That's great. But the frontal lobe starts to go the older you get. And Jerry is an attention seeker, and Jerry's a bit squirrely now. And Al Davis was the same way. Attention seeker, squirrely. Both made their mark on pro football. Both were visionaries, but both, the Raiders turned into a joke and have never recovered. And the Cowboys are headed that way almost at warp speed. Anyway, that's going to do it for my time. We will talk to you, let's say Thursday, because I got a Regina Pats game I'm calling tomorrow with Ryan McNally at the Brandt Center. The Pats going through a rebuild here, so we'll get to see some young, fresh faces tomorrow when I believe they're playing I think it's the Saskatoon Blades, and then it's the Edmonton Oil Kings. I forget who they're playing, but we've got 2 games on Wednesday and Friday. I guess I should know. I'm going to go study right now for that. Talk to you soon.